Yeah, so let's start with the Niners. They finished with a 13-3 record, obviously lost in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. I think the most interesting storyline with the Niners this year has been, or this offseason, has been a concern about whether they are going to have a type of Super Bowl losing sort of hangover. And especially in this division, you can't really have that. What's your guys' feelings on that thought process across the media this offseason?
I could see the Niners, and I'm putting aside my haha, I'm a Niners hater hat, but looking at their schedule, this is something that kind of bothers me a lot of the time when I see schedules for teams that have made the Super Bowl, even if they win or lose. They always seem to be the easiest schedules ever the next year because
they're supposed to be one of the hardest schedules, but they're not always
the hardest.
Well, look later on, though.
Yeah, but so the Seahawks, for the 49ers, I think legitimately it's going to be, as I said, with the 49ers and the Seahawks, it's going to depend on who does better in their division.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, can the Seahawks not do what they usually do, which is lose to Arizona at least once. I think the trap games for the 49ers are going to be Philly or Buffalo. I think those are the two games that could...
New Orleans,
those are the three. New Orleans will be out for blood after last year. Yeah. So.
That's an interesting stretch. Week 7 to week 13, right? You got, or week 8 to week 13, I should say. Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans. Then you hit the bye. Then you have the Rams. Then you got the Buffalo Bills. It's a really interesting stretch.
That's a rough 3 weeks for 8, 9, 10 for them.
With a Thursday night game against the Packers and a Monday nighter against the Bills.
Because they go on the road for Seattle and New Orleans, but home for Green Bay.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is that's rough for them.
That's a
At least
a tough
Seattle's
stretch.
Close, but yeah.
Yeah.
So my X Factor player for this team, let's see, what did I have? I think there's a couple players. I'm gonna go Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is my X Factor player. I know you guys are probably going to pick different players, but I'm going to try to go a little bit outside the map for X Factor players this year, and I'm going to go Deebo Samuel. I think one of the biggest things for the Niners the past few years has been a wonder of who's going to be their number one guy. Now you have options to see who will be your number one guy. You got Deebo Samuel, and you also got Brandon Ayuk, who they drafted in the first round this year. So I think receivers are going to be really big for Jimmy Garoppolo, especially since I really need him to throw the ball a lot more this season. Who do you guys have for X Factor players, or one specific player that will be an ultimate important player for the Niners to be successful in 2020?
I think for me, the obvious choice was George Kittle because he's just, you watched last season when they didn't have him for those few games, and Garoppolo, he really struggled against some not so amazing defenses. I think that, especially not knowing how good exactly their receiving core will be. I mean, I have hopes, but losing Emmanuel Sanders and what's that other guy's name?
They lost Matt Breida as well.
Yeah.
Court, he went to Miami.
Well, anyways, I think yes, Garoppolo is clutch, but Kittle is really the core piece to that pass game that they really need to improve on. So that's their X factor to me.
Let's not forget they added Trent Williams as well this offseason. Brandon, What's your X factor for the San Francisco 49ers?
So I agreed with Shane. I think Kittle, just because it seemed like every time I watched the 49ers Kittle was just mauling someone. I mean, the dude is a beast. He's arguably the best tight end in the league. Going back to the Saints game, he won that game for them. At the end, he just caught the ball and just had 7 guys hanging off of him. I would say if I'm gonna give another X factor, it would be, is the 49ers defense going to be as... So I would say the X factor would be, can the 49ers defense put together a full season of dominance?
Mm-hmm.
Can they be consistent? Because if they're consistent, I actually truly believe that it's going to be very hard for a lot of teams to beat them.
Right. They added pieces on their defense as well in the draft, so definitely interesting to see what they'll do. But yeah, I think they had a great defensive line, and if they continue to have a great defensive line like they did last year, there's no question they can probably find themselves back in the Super Bowl. But it depends. It depends how the season goes early on, but as you said, throughout the year, can they be consistent defensively, or even more consistent as they were last season?